I'm one of those people that believes that 28mm is a fantastic all-around versatile focal length. And majority of the conversations I hear about it when it comes to negativity is it just gets panned for not being 35mm. But this lens can get the job done. I use it for a lot of things in my portfolio, for my career, whether it's documentary, portraits, landscape, street photography, anything to do with photojournalism. I believe that if you're having an issue with 28mm and you keep running back to 35, it might just be a skill issue. But that's okay, because the best way to tackle a skill issue is to learn and overcome. So today I wanted to give you some tips, 3 specifically, on how to start taking fantastic images with a 28mm field of view. The 3 tips are very simple. You either layer it, get close, change your perspective, or do a mix of all 3. And whenever you add all of those 3 together, you're gonna get a really, really nice image. Now, before we begin, I do want to say that during this talk, I will be using a couple of terms that aren't interchangeable, but they're necessary for me to discuss when it comes to different sensor sizes. That's focal length and field of view. Focal length is in regards to the actual focal length of a lens. For example, this right here is an 18mm f2.8 color scope R from Voigtlander. If I put this on a full frame camera, it's just going to be an 18mm focal length and an 18mm field of view. But when coupled with this Fujifilm X-T5, which is a crop sensor with a 1.5 times crop, this 18mm turns into about a 28mm field of view. So whenever I say field of view, it's usually when I'm talking about the field of view I'm getting out of crop sensors or larger than full frame, which is medium format cameras. So getting right into it, let's talk about step number 1, which is layer it. 28mm is a beautiful, beautiful lens, beautiful focal length. And my favorite part about it is how chaotic that beauty is. 28mm is able to get a lot more information on not only the left and right of your image, but also sitting close to you in your foreground. And it is in your best interest to use that foreground and the midground and the background and work on layering in subjects. Layering may not be something you're used to, specifically with the 3 levels of an image when you're coming from 35mm or 50mm, which are tighter and actually lend themselves, regardless of what people say, to isolation more than anything else. It's one of the reasons why I believe 35mm does such a good job for street photography in a lot of people's minds, is because you're able to still isolate a subject while getting wide enough for your information on everything else. So your way to combat that is to layer in your subjects into your image. Whether you put a subject in the foreground, midground, or background, it doesn't matter. You have to work through these 3 different areas in order to tell the story of the image. Use that wide amount of chaos to your advantage to the best of your ability. You don't have to always shoot wide open. You don't have to always shoot stop down. But the thing is, layering, whether it's lead lines, whether it's actual layering in subjects, layering in colors, layering in light, lends itself to creating a dynamic and a tasteful image every single time. This is something that I like to do specifically whenever I'm using 28mm for documentary or photojournalism portraits. I really, really love more than anything to be able to set something in front of my midground and kind of blow out that foreground, but I really like the way that it gives a little bit more key perspective whenever it comes to size between whatever is in the foreground to the subject. And like I said, doing this allows for some really cool portraits. And honestly, you can still get regular portraits on 28mm, but I always try to add in a little bit texture or a change in light in order to take the dullness away for a more wide lens. See, 28mm has a superpower of not having too much crazy perspective distortion whenever you get close to a subject. So unlike 25, 24, or 20mm, you're not getting stretched out in the face as much, and things feel still a little bit normal the closer you get. But if you can't get too close, work on layering to be able to tell your story, whether it's in a portrait, street photography, topography, even landscapes. And these wide angle lenses like a 28mm will just become a breeze to use in these situations. Step number 2, get close. A really famous photographer whose name I can't remember, sue me, who cares, once said, if your images aren't cool or something like that, then you're just not getting close enough. And while I don't subscribe to that 100%, I have to say the 28mm focal length absolutely benefits from that more than potentially any other focal length in existence. 28mm has this amazing ability to, while limiting on the perspective distortion, allowing you to be able to get closer to subjects and it feel natural. It's a great focal length to be able to take with you, to be able to dip into the life of the subject and let your viewer feel like they're in there with you, whether it's in groups, up close, being able to tell the story of a full area. 28mm is my go-to whenever it comes to photojournalism for this specifically. I think it's a fantastic street photography and documentary lens because of this, because it's just giving your viewer the innate ability to feel like they can breathe the air, touch the fabric, and hear exactly what's going on. And while 35mm can do something similar to this, I do have to say that there are a lot of images that I've taken that I don't feel like I'd be able to have the same effect with 35mm because of how much more it pushes into being on the side of isolation. Take, for example, these are some bull riders prepping to be able to ride some bulls at Dennis Davis Bucking Bulls Ranch in Cypress, Texas. As they're getting prepared and getting set up, I was able to take this image that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite images over the last 5 years. And this image is significant in my mind in what 28mm does for me more than almost any other because of the look of it. I'm there at an angle. I'm literally at the edge of a platform. I can't step back. I can't step up. And more than anything, the image doesn't feel isolated. Everything feels like it's one, from the arena, the dirt, the gloves and the hands working, to the bull riders themselves. Everything feels like there's a oneness, and it feels like you're standing right there in front of them. And unfortunately for 35mm, in my case in use, even whenever stopped down, that focal length just lends itself to feeling more isolated. It's a little bit tighter, it has a little shallower depth of field, and more than anything, with the perspective distortion on it, it just can't get as much information, in my opinion, to make things look as to scale as I would want them to be. And the final step number 3, is just change perspective. The most essential way for you to get different images from 28mm that you really enjoy and have fun is to change your perspective. There's 2 ways that I absolutely love to do this. Number 1 is just shooting from a higher perspective than you're used to. A lot of us are used to shooting behind the camera right there on your eye, and that's great, that's fantastic, but you would not believe what putting right here a little bit higher than your eye and maybe down to make it, framed there can really do. 28mm, one thing I love to do is I love to use zone focusing on this, and my boy Like Ali showed me a trick with zone focusing and then, using flash not off camera per se because it's still close enough, but reaching your arm out over here and just changing the angle of the light. And when you couple that, I've noticed with a little bit more of a downward angle, it just gives a really distinct perspective to things, and something that a lot of people aren't used to seeing. A lot of us are used to seeing life straight ahead through our eyes, no matter the height, no matter what, this is what we're seeing. When you change the angle here, it just gives a more fun, I don't want to say quirky, but more interesting image. The other thing that I like to do is whenever I'm shooting street, I like to go and shoot from the hip. Whether it's with a Ricoh snap focus, whether it's with a lens like this is zone focus, I like to shoot from the hip and get a lower style angle for, if anything, just a different look. The world looks different from down below. Sometimes things are great and I'm shooting upwards. Sometimes I'm shooting downwards. Sometimes I'm shooting straight. Sometimes Dutch angle on accident. It doesn't matter. A lot of my favorite images have been taken from the hip on street photography. And it's something that I even like to do whenever I'm out and about and I'm shooting and I have time to set up on digital cameras like this, or, something that I really, really enjoy about my 6x6 cameras, my TLRs, is the ability to look down through the ground glass to be able to take an image from just a different perspective and angle. And at 28mm, I feel like it lends so well to that. A lot of times we take images and we want these focal lengths to operate like other focal lengths. And so we shoot 28 like it's 35 and 35 like it's 50 and 50 like it's 85, and we expect to get the same results. But whenever you take the time to learn about what makes a focal length special, that's whenever you're able to create amazing things, and these lenses can play off of each other. With all that being said, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys are going to start your 28mm journey soon. If you have a problem with this, who gives a fuck? Take it light, but take it. Have a good one.